Most people think persuasion happens when someone is confident, logical, and clear. That's wrong. Real persuasion often happens when the brain is confused. Because when the mind loses its footing, it starts looking for something to hold onto. And whoever provides that footing gains influence. Today, I'm going to show you how persuasion works through disorientation. This is not manipulation nor coercion, but understanding what happens in the human brain during moments of confusion, and how influence quietly enters when certainty leaves. This is powerful and dangerous if abused. And this is something you're already experiencing every day without realizing it. Let's begin. The human brain is a prediction machine. It constantly tries to guess what happens next. It builds mental maps, patterns, and expectations. When reality matches those expectations, the brain feels safe. But when expectations are violated, something fascinating happens. The brain pauses. In psychology, this is called a cognitive disruption. During disruption, the analytical mind weakens. The emotional and instinctive systems take over. This is why moments of confusion are moments of openness. Not because people are stupid, but because the brain temporarily suspends resistance to rebuild understanding. Think about the last time you were confused in a conversation. You probably leaned in, asked questions, or became unusually compliant. That wasn't weakness. That was your brain searching for orientation. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Influence enters during that search. Disorientation lowers psychological defenses. It interrupts automatic reactions. It disables rehearsed responses. And it makes people more suggestible. This is why high-pressure sales environments often feel confusing. Fast talking. Unexpected questions. Shifting frames. Not to inform, but to disorient. But we're not here to exploit. We're here to understand. Because when you understand disorientation, you can use it ethically. Or protect yourself when others use it on you. Let's talk about how disorientation actually works. The brain relies on schemas. Schemas are mental shortcuts about how the world works. When a schema breaks, the brain experiences discomfort. Psychologists call this cognitive disequilibrium. In this state, people are more likely to accept external guidance. Because certainty feels better than confusion. Now here's where persuasion begins. Whoever restores clarity becomes trusted. Not because they're right, but because they reduce discomfort. This is why calm voices dominate chaotic situations. It's why leaders emerge during crises. And it's why influence spikes when certainty collapses. Let's look at a simple real-life example. Imagine you ask someone a question they don't expect. Their brain pauses. In that pause, they're no longer operating on autopilot. That moment is a window. What you say next matters more than anything before. This is the foundation of persuasion through disorientation. Create a brief mental pause. Then provide direction. Ethically, this should always be used to help, clarify, or guide. Never to deceive nor trap. Now let's break this down into practical, real-world techniques. The first technique is pattern interruption. Humans run on habits. Conversations follow scripts. When you gently break the script, attention spikes. For example, instead of responding emotionally, you respond unexpectedly calm. Instead of agreeing or disagreeing, you ask a thoughtful question. This disrupts the emotional momentum and forces the brain to reset. In that reset, people listen differently. The second technique is frame shifting. Most arguments aren't about facts. They're about frames. A frame is the invisible context that defines meaning. When you shift the frame, you disorient without attacking. For example, instead of debating who's right, you reframe the issue as shared goals. The brain pauses, recalculates. That pause is influence space. The third technique is temporal disorientation. This happens when you subtly shift focus from the present emotion to a future outcome. The brain disengages from immediate resistance and starts simulating possibilities. That simulation state is more flexible. This is why future-based questions are persuasive. What would it look like if this worked? Now let's talk about tone. Disorientation does not require aggression. In fact, aggression triggers defense. Calmness during confusion feels like safety. That's why the most persuasive people are grounded, slow, and composed. They become anchors. Now here's the ethical line. Disorientation should never be prolonged. Confusion is a doorway, not a prison. Ethical persuasion restores clarity quickly. It helps people feel empowered, not trapped. If someone feels lost after interacting with you, you crossed the line. Now let's flip the script. How do you protect yourself from disorientation-based persuasion? The answer is awareness. When you feel suddenly confused, slow down. Don't rush to agreement. Ask yourself, what changed just now? That single question restores cognitive balance. Disorientation loses power when named. Now let's bring this home. Disorientation isn't evil. It's a natural brain state. It happens in emergencies, negotiations, and relationships. The difference between manipulation and leadership is intention. One exploits confusion. The other resolves it. The most influential people don't dominate minds. They guide them through uncertainty. They understand that when the brain is searching, it listens. And they speak with clarity, not control. If you master this responsibly, you won't need force. People will follow because you help them feel oriented again. And that is the most powerful form of persuasion there is. If you want to understand how influence really works beneath words, behind logic, and before resistance forms, pay attention to moments of confusion. Because that's where persuasion quietly begins. If you found this life-changing and you want to go deeper into covert persuasion and influence science, don't stop here. Click the link in the description below to discover more powerful persuasion techniques to get anyone to do anything. Then watch this video next to learn 27 bite-sized psychological tricks to persuade anyone.